I'll find a few tomorrow.
And like I've always said, the great ones, like myself, they treat everybody differently. You don't yell at stars. Sometimes you need to kick them a little bit. Sometimes you need to pat them on the back. And I'm the guy who decides who gets what.
Well, you can yell at me. You just got to find something first. I think it's the issue that we kind of run into.
Well, you saying Kyle Shanahan was negligent yesterday. I mean, that's right out of the Guru playbook.
You better be careful.
And I know you're saying that because you know that I didn't say that.
No,
in fact, you actually. Well, you tried to goat me though. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it,
what did I try to do?
It took me a while, but I
what
figured
did I try
it
to
out.
do?
You try and put words in my mouth.
What was the word you used?
Confusing.
No.
Negligent?
It felt like you said you're trying to goat me.
Goad.
Okay. I was going to say.
See? And you just been waiting to pounce. Waiting to pounce for 3 hours. I won't have it.
Trying to think what I could pounce on. You've been pretty level-headed today.
It's a nice dress shirt you got.
Thank you.
It's not a dress shirt.
Yes, it is. It's a Henley.
That's not a dress shirt.
Please.
How do you define a dress shirt?
If it's got a button on it, it's a dress shirt. One button. One time.
I'm going to find a T-shirt for you that has one button so that we can actually put it up to the camera on YouTube and Twitch and have the people decide. I'm not saying it's not a nice shirt, Steiny.
This is a really nice shirt.
Let me speak.
Really nice.
I'm not trying to say that you don't have style and that you don't know how to dress well, because you do. All I'm saying is that's not a dress shirt.
You take a look at me in this garment and you tell me it's not a dress shirt.
Well, first of all, you don't even have the top 2 buttons done.
No, I'm kind of cool.
You're trying to go Clint Eastwood?
No, I don't.
Chest hair flowing in the wind?
I got a little, but it doesn't stick out the top. All right, let's go to Paul in Oakland. He feels like he knows why Purdy played, I believe. Hey, Paul, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? No, I do not know why Purdy played.
Oh, gotcha.
Your producer asked me that, and my answer was that's an organizational question. That's a Shanahan question, and they know why. My point is I'm more concerned or inquisitive about the play selections that they chose with Purdy, knowing who they had on the field with him as much as who wasn't on the field with him. And I'm looking at that thing, and I'm saying from a coaching perspective, and I've done some coaching in my time, I'm not doing things with Purdy in that meaningless situation where I'm having him hold the ball. I'm either putting him under center and we're handing the ball off, or I'm putting him in the gun and it's being caught and it's being thrown now before the pass rush can get to him. I am not putting him in any more of a precarious situation that already exists in a contact tackle football game. That's where I'm coming from. He got bounced around a little bit the other night.
He did,
and that would concern me from that perspective. So I would ask Kyle, not why you play him, but why are you having him run plays and routes that have 2 or 3 reads to them where he's holding on to the ball with a less than suspect offensive line group in front of him?
I got you, Paul. Thanks for the call. Not so much that he played, but that he ended up doing a little bit too much running and put himself in harm's way a little bit. I gotta believe that Purdy said to Shanahan, I would like to get a couple plays in just to feel what a live game feels like for the first time since a Super Bowl, particularly because the more I do think of it, I do think the joint practice cancellation might have had something to do with it. He, meaning Shanahan, probably thought that he'd get a look at Purdy in those situations. Then they didn't materialize. So maybe that's when he said, you know what, I still want to get a look at him before the Friday game. I'm going to put him out there for 2 or 3 series.
But I also think that Kittle, Debo, and Juwan and other starting players would be playing in those joint practices alongside Purdy. So again, I'm not mad that Purdy played in the game. In fact, I'm not even mad that Shanahan met out there in the first place. I'm confused. It doesn't make sense to me watching that game with his surrounding cast. Also because, and the callers, I guess, brings up something else that Shanahan has no control over, which is Purdy is extending those plays when he's rolling out and dancing around and trying to turn something from nothing. That's him doing that. That's him improvising. And the whole point of a preseason game, I think, is to get your players some rhythm, some reps. And there didn't appear to me to be a chance for Purdy to get into any rhythm in any of the 3 series that he played because, well, he didn't have any of his guys out there.
Right.
You know, the first couple of runs they had, which is not uncommon for a Shanahan-led team to start with a run, try and get a couple of yards or create an advantageous second down situation. Okay, well, then they're behind the sticks. You know, Purdy's just getting his offensive lineman, he's looking at him just getting blown up by the Saints D-line. Okay, well, we're not going to be able to get the ball out after 3 steps or after 5 steps or whatever the play call is. You know, the timing is thrown off by the fact that he doesn't have protection, he doesn't have requisite receivers, and it just didn't seem to me, there didn't seem to be any reason for him to be in that game.
Yeah. By the way, can you share that information that you shared with me?
Now, people are also saying I did say GOAT, so I apologize to you, Steiny.
You don't have to, because I'm looking at a 510 from Aces 510. Steiny, why are you always trying to pounce and find mistakes on your partners? You make mistakes all day. Now I'm going to take a nap, but I'm going to keep you on. Thank you.
By the way, 510, it is a great strategy, napping. You brought that up during a break. You're going to go take a nap.
We'll see. We'll see. You know how, let's be honest, you wake up.
Are we not?
Well, sometimes you got to be more clear. You wake up, how many times has this happened to you? You wake up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and you're like, oh God, I am exhausted. And
yeah, last 2 days.
You know, I'm gonna punch the clock today and I'm gonna put on another wonderful show. But when I go home, I'm gonna hit the rack. I'm gonna take a nap. And then what happens? At 2:10, the bell rings, the school bell rings, and I'm thinking, I feel pretty good actually now. I won't go take a nap. I'll go work out, lift some weights, or at least an 8-pound ball. Yeah.
Well, medicine ball?
Yeah.
Or kettlebell?
No kettlebell. I'll hurt my back if I use a kettlebell. Now, they say if you use a kettlebell correctly, it doesn't hurt your back. But I'm pretty convinced I won't know how to use it correctly.
Well, you just got to work on your form. You know, it's just like a jump shot.
Have you ever used a kettlebell?
Yeah, of course. You know, you kettlebell swings or pushes or pulls.
How many times did you pull a muscle with a kettlebell?
None.
Please.
None.
Please.
Well, number one, it depends on the exercise, and I don't want to get too deep into this. This is going to bore people. But the only time that you should feel like you have hurt yourself when you're lifting a weight is if you didn't know what you were doing.
Oh. Well, maybe that's it.
You shouldn't hurt yourself lifting weights.
Okay.
Well, you shouldn't hurt yourself doing anything physically.
Chris A. says you got to have a strong core, Steiny. I think it's all about the core.
It's all about the base.
Yeah.
Learn that from Curry. You know what he did to address his ankle issues early in his career?
Remind me.
Well, he worked on the rest of his base. He got to the point where he was deadlifting a ton of weight and actually strengthened his hips because, as you know, there's a chain.
Huh.
And so when one part of your body is, down a little bit, you don't just address that area. You need to build everything around. You need to give yourself a foundation.
You think that's what has affected his shot?
No. Well, maybe. No.
By the way,
that's something completely different.
Albert Breer of the NFL Network. You want to share that with our listeners? Because I believe it the more I think about it.
Yeah, so Albert Breer wrote, and he's kind of taken over in a sense for Peter King, the Monday morning quarterback column. And Peter King still has his column in. He's very good. But Breer writes the Monday morning quarterback and basically informed us today that the holdup might have been between Aiyuk and the Steelers. The fact that the Steelers weren't willing to give Aiyuk $30+ million per year like the Patriots were. In fact, the Patriots were the only team that was willing to pay Brandon Aiyuk, it seems, more than $30 million a year. So the asking price between the Niners and the Steelers was close enough that it actually pushed Brandon Aiyuk back to the Niners. So what does that tell you? Because it tells me that, again, this is all about money. It's all about where Aiyuk can get a place that he can compete. And I think he thought that Pittsburgh is a place that he can compete. But the difference in dollars was not big enough to do it.
And now, what that leads me to believe is there's only one team that's interested in acquiring or having Brandon Aiyuk on their team, and that's the Niners. Right? Unless a team comes out of the woodwork and wants to pay him $30, they still will have to get the Niners to agree to the compensation. And I think that's the reason why there's a lot of optimism, is because it feels like the Steelers have dropped out, or at least aren't willing to up their offer, either for Aiyuk and his money or for the Niners and what they're going to end up trading back to them. So,
well, but remember also there was a deal in place, or whatever the term was, framework of the deal in place. And we both assumed, you and I, that the Niners nixed the deal because there wasn't anything coming back.
Right.
Well, this also might tell you that Brandon Aiyuk might have nixed the deal with the Steelers or said, I'm not signing there, because the difference between what they're offering me and the difference between what the Niners are offering me is not big enough for me to move. So it also tells me that Aiyuk does want to be here. Aiyuk wants to be in San Francisco as much as the Niners want to keep him. He just needs them to meet their price.
I think that's the way we're going right now. And again, I shared this with you earlier in the show. Tim Kawakami of The Athletic seems to believe that there's more optimism now about both Trent Williams and Brandon Aiyuk than there has been. And he seems to believe that they'll both play in the opener, notwithstanding what they get paid or whether they get Aiyuk to come in at $14 million or not. Deebo Samuel was on with the Up and Adams podcast.
Show on FanDuel TV.
Okay. Like, you're amazing with those shows, by the way.
I have no life.
Yeah. Anyway, here's Deebo Samuel talking about whether or not the Niners can win without Brandon Aiyuk.
I'm worried about this team not being able to win the Super Bowl without Brandon Aiyuk. Are you?
Am I worried?
Can this team win a Super Bowl without Brandon Aiyuk?
Can we win a Super Bowl without BA? I think BA is going to be a part of this team, so we don't have to worry about that.
Let's go.
Oh God!
What? She said, "Let's go." Let's effing go.
She also said she was worried. So is she a Niner fan, I take it? How do you think? What do you think of the way he?
Can we have some fun with it? Actually.
Oh, hold on.
Please play it again.
I'm worried about this team not being able to win the Super Bowl without Brandon Aiyuk. Are you?
Am I worried?
Can this team win a Super Bowl without Brandon Aiyuk?
Can we win a Super Bowl without BA? I think BA is going to be a part of this team, so we don't have to worry about that.
Let's go.
You know where I would have stopped it?
Where?
Right after he goes, can we win a Super Bowl without BA? And I'd leave it right there, because that's the real answer to the question. He doesn't think that they can win a Super Bowl without Brandon Aiyuk.
But there's no need to worry about that, because he will be a 49er, according to Deebo Samuel. The only thing, and we're kind of having some
fun. Or
does
he think that they can win a Super Bowl without Brandon Aiyuk, and he didn't want to answer the question truthfully?
I don't think he would say we can't win a Super Bowl without Brandon Aiyuk, but it's not advantageous to say, oh, yeah, we might be better without that guy.
But compare that to how Kittle answered the question last week. basically saying, well, we don't know what we look like. We've won some games without Trent. We don't know what we're going to look like until we step on the field. And I think they're going to have BA, but if they don't, then we are going to find out. I don't know. I think that, like, if I'm just listening to Debo, number one, he doesn't want to answer that question.
Of course not.
He doesn't want to answer it. But if Kay's worried, well, then maybe we need to be too.
Yeah, that's not going to sway me one way or the other.
Why not?
Because here's my theory. My theory on this whole thing is it's less important that they're missing training camp. In other words, if you ask me what's the risk because these guys aren't in camp? And what we hear mostly is, well, they're not developing the chemistry that they need, and maybe they'll get off to a slow start, or maybe they report and they're not in great shape, and so they'll get off to a slow start. I actually think there's a bigger potential problem. I'm not saying there will be or there is one, but I think the potential is there because we don't know how those 53 guys in the locker room feel about what's going on with Trent Williams and Brandon Aiyuk. In other words, I think it's very easy to put a blanket over it all and say, you know what? The players on the team that are under contract, they don't get into other people's finances or contract negotiations. And there's an assumption there that the players on the team have no problem with what Aiyuk's doing. And first of all, we don't know. There might be some players in that room that aren't happy with the way Aiyuk's handled it, or maybe even Trent Williams. But the other part of it is, it could also be a problem if the team is not happy with the organization and the way the organization has handled these two guys. If they think, like a lot of the fans, that this is such an important year, we can't afford to be messing around. They should have been in here day one of training camp. And it stinks that this organization might not be in urgency mode like we, the players, are.
But I also think the players they respect their fellow guy getting his money.
What if he doesn't get his money?
I've thought about that. Or the money isn't as high as we thought.
Right.
Well, then I do have to ask what the hell we were doing in the first place. I mean, seriously, if Brandon Aiyuk signed, let's say, I don't know, the deal comes out and it's 3 years, $75 million.
Okay.
What have we been doing for the last 6 months?
Well, at that point, I think we find out that the Niners were only offering 22 at some point.
And then I wonder what we've been doing for the last 6 months, because he's clearly worth more than $22 million. The market, in fact, says he's worth closer to $30 million than $25 million. And I think Aiyuk, no matter what the number comes out to be, has made himself money this summer by holding in and by the social media tactics and however childish some people label them. It's been effective. It's worked. I think he's gained leverage over the course of this summer. And I think we will find out he's made himself money.
That's interesting. I wonder how many fans would agree with you there that if I said, is Brandon Aiyuk's strategy working? I bet it would split down the middle almost.
Well, the other part of this too, so you asked about how his teammates feel.
Yes.
I think the team is most concerned about winning football games and winning a Super Bowl. The only time that this could become an issue is if the season starts, Aiyuk's on the team, he has his contract, and he plays poorly. If he starts dropping passes, if he starts missing blocks, if he starts doing things that we do not know Brandon Aiyuk to do, or if he takes a step back, then I think it becomes an issue. Because this entire summer then has clearly impacted how he is as a football player, which is first and foremost.
By the way, Julian Edelman was on the call on Fox Sports yesterday, and he talked about Brandon Aiyuk, the former Patriots receiver. Take a listen to what he said about Aiyuk.
If I was Brandon Aiyuk, I would be a San Francisco week 1. You know, usually a team goes out and wins the Super Bowl, and everyone tries to get paid. They haven't won a Super Bowl yet, but everyone is trying to get paid. So if they can have the mental toughness, which means having the ability to do what's best for the team when it's not necessarily best for you, I'm just telling you, there is a jackpot at the end of the rainbow that is a huge payday if they go out and get it done.
That's Julian Edelman, who was on the call yesterday. I mean, it seemed like he went halfway there.
He wanted to call him selfish.
He did, and then he kind of backed off and said, "Well, if they win a Super Bowl, he'll hit a jackpot." Well, that assumes that he's coming in and playing for the 14 because he wants to hit the jackpot before the season starts.
And Julian Edelman is from a culture that is, you know, we over me and the Patriot way and all the rest. But I would ask Julian Edelman this, and not to count pockets, but, hey, Julian, I know that if you were in an Aiyuk situation, you would just go sign with the Niners. You know why? Because your career earnings are only $46 million. What Brandon Aiyuk is trying to get will probably double that. If he gets a 4-year contract, this single contract will double Julian Edelman's career earnings. So if I put him to him like that, would he then say, oh, yeah, I'll just show up, I'll be in camp? Because if he has a chance to make more money than he's made in his entire life, twice as much as that, by just holding out for a couple months or holding in for a couple months, I think his tenor would be different.
It might be. But I think he is right about, I wonder how not the league, but yeah, 3 guys wanted money this offseason after they lost in the Super Bowl. Does that matter? The fact that Trent Williams is holding out and McCaffrey wanted more money and Aiyuk's holding out now. Would this all be solved if they had won a Super Bowl last year? I don't necessarily think so.
No, but well, in fact, it might have lingered on longer, or McCaffrey might have wanted more than what he got, or whatever. I just also think that too. That's more of a broader question about where the Niners are at and how they approach their players. What he's talking about is an individual, and to single out Brandon Aiyuk and not talk about what role the Niners play in this, that to me is disingenuous, because I know Julian Edelman is smart enough to understand both sides of this negotiation, and it's not just Aiyuk that is playing hard to get.
Maybe he's like me, and he doesn't have a strong opinion, Julian Edelman.
Well, he just had one. We just heard it.
Yeah, it was milquetoast. He said,
Wait.
He'll get in.
Milk toast?
Yeah, milquetoast.
Milk toast.
What?
You put a T on the end.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's spelled.
Really? Oh, boy.
What is going on here?
I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one, but
damn it.
But we'll check because now.
Oh, we got to hit a break.
All right. Hey, on the other side, I want to play this sound from my new favorite athlete, Tua Tagovailoa. Boy, did he tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Damn it.
I'll play that on the other side, and I'll also correct Evan officially on 95.7 The Game.